What would you do, or what could you do if I gave you $500,000 and another $500,000 and another $500,000 every second of every day? What if I gave you $500,000, $30 million every single minute of your waking life? Well, I know one thing you could do with it. You could service the unfunded liabilities of the United States, because that's exactly, more or less, what we're doing right now. Every second of every day, we're increasing our unfunded liabilities by $500,000. That's 30 million every minute, every day, every night, indefinitely. Now, what are unfunded liabilities? Unfunded liabilities are obligations we don't have a plan for. We don't have the taxes to pay for them. We don't have any means. There is no plan. That's $30 million every single minute we are adding that we don't have a plan for. That's $191 trillion of unfunded liabilities in total. We often hear $32 trillion total debt, but really our liabilities are about 6 times larger, over 6 times larger, in fact. And speaking of things being larger, if we compare that to the past, what was the national debt of the United States in the past? Well, in 1860, the national debt, total national debt of the United States was $64.8 million. Not trillion, not billion, million. $64 million versus 32 trillion today. Now, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, all these numbers get mixed up. Actually, how much larger is that? That is 492,000 times larger. Not 492,000%, 492,000 times larger. That is how dramatically our debt has expanded over the last 160 years or so. 500,000 times bigger. It's not sustainable. It's simply not. What is 500,000 times larger than 32 trillion? Okay, it's 15 quintillion, 744 quadrillion. Go from tens of trillions to hundreds of trillions to quadrillions, tens of quadrillions, hundreds of quadrillions, quintillions. Now we're talking tens of quintillions of dollars. It's 500,000 times larger than our national debt for today. Most people don't even know. Most people can't even count that high. That's how absurd this is, and it's so funny to me, because we all know this is like our house prices keep going up, our stock prices keep going up, the cost of gold keeps going up, energy, oil, food, everything keeps going up over time. You literally open any history book in your elementary classes or in middle school, like just think any point in history, people say, oh wow, prices used to be so cheap back then. Oh, they used to be so cheap back then. Back when a postage stamp was a penny, or back when a car was whatever, or when this, people made only hundreds of dollars in their salaries at one point. The cars and houses only cost thousands of dollars, single-digit thousands of dollars. And now good luck getting a house for $100,000. It's simply mind-blowing that these things can escalate so dramatically for so long, and we just kind of go with it. And to be fair, we kind of have to go with it, because what other option do we have? We don't really have another option. The government makes the money, we use the money, we spend the money, we save in the money. When you can't trust the money, what do? You buy assets, you buy houses, you buy the gold, you buy the oil, you buy the food, you buy the whatever, to save for the future, because you can't save in the money. We're going to increase your national debt by 500,000 over the course of a century or two. And really that's actually very optimistic, because we've only been on a full-on fiat standard since 1971. So barely 50 years here, barely the last third of that 160 years or so, we've actually been on a fiat standard. 1981, we crossed the $1 trillion mark of national debt. So of the 32 trillion, 31 has happened in the last third of that period. So really our rate of growth is much more dramatic in the last 100 years, 150 years or so. But anyway, I digress. But there actually is an alternate now. Money's all made up. Money's just ones and zeros. And we actually have an alternate system of ones and zeros now. A system that doesn't have to increase its debt burden by 500,000x every century. So it doesn't have to increase its debt at all. It's a fully solid, fully reserved system. It's called Bitcoin. People say it's a scam. Typically, they're the people that are reliant on the debt, reliant on the money printer, reliant on the endless increasing Ponzi scheme of political currency units that want you to believe that Bitcoin is a scam. But in reality, what What is the scam? The fully reserve system that doesn't require debt, or the fractional reserve system that requires debt to function and not collapse? I mean, it's kind of obvious to me, at least. It isn't to most people, but it's obvious to me. And when you think of it that way, when you view Bitcoin as a fully reserved system in comparison to a fractional reserve system, when you view Bitcoin as something that doesn't require the endless expansion of debt exponentially versus something that does require the infinite expansion of debt exponentially, you realize, wait a second, Bitcoin actually is this kind of risk-off protection for that purchasing power. Like I was saying a minute ago, we save our money in houses and stocks or whatever to preserve our purchasing power because we can't keep it in the political Ponzi scheme currency system. We have to keep it in something that's fully reserved. We have to keep it in a bearer asset. We have to keep it in something that's a commodity, something that is a security of a reputable company. We have to keep it in something that's going to preserve its purchasing power. And so what's the thing that's going to preserve its purchasing power the most? Well, it's not a house because a house deteriorates over time. It's not a company or even a tech monopoly because tech monopolies just get rolled over again and again and again as technology advances. The thing that's going to preserve its purchasing power the best is the most resilient, the most durable, and the most immutable fully reserved currency. That's what logically should retain its purchasing power more than anything else. And that's Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. And actually, that's misleading because there's not really 21 million Bitcoin left to be bought. There's only about 1.88 million Bitcoin left to be bought at the time of recording here in July of 2023. 1.88 million Bitcoin. The rest of the Bitcoin are either lost or they're held by crazy people like me that are not going to sell them to you. You know, do I look like somebody that's going to sell you my Bitcoin? I'm not. You know, maybe you can figure it out on your own, but I'm telling you, I won't sell you my Bitcoin for any amount of dollars or any amount of pesos. You know, would you sell me your house for Turkish lira when the lira is inflating, aka collapsing by 70% every single year? No, you wouldn't. Would you sell me your Apple stock for Continentals? You know, the United States' first hyperinflationary event was in 1779. Well, technically it wasn't hyperinflationary because it was only 47% month over month inflation, not 50% month over month inflation. So technically it wasn't hyperinflation. When you get to 47% a month, every month of inflation, that's basically hyperinflation. I mean, would you sell me your house for those Continentals? No, you wouldn't. They're worthless. They died in the 1700s. Likewise, I'm not going to sell you my Bitcoin for US dollars. I'm not going to sell them to you for euros. And so if we're holding most of those 21 million Bitcoins, or people have lost them, and there's only that 1.88 million Bitcoin left, and they're trading at roughly 30,000 US political currency units a pop today in July 2023, then the question becomes, how quickly could those 1.88 million Bitcoins disappear? And the correct answer is they could go away in as little as 33 hours. Again, the United States is adding $500,000 to our unfunded liabilities every single second. Okay, that's $30 million every hour. In 33 hours, if that was instead capital acquiring the remaining Bitcoins on exchanges and not debt, we're just adding on, unfunded liabilities, we're just adding on. That's all the Bitcoin in 33 hours. Okay. That's $56 billion. We're adding $56 billion of unfunded liabilities every 33 hours. There's $56 billion left of Bitcoin on exchanges. And for some reason, people don't understand. If you have an infinite money, if you have an infinite currency, and you have a scarce currency, what's eventually going to happen is that the government is going to print said infinite currency to buy said scarce currency, to back the infinite currency, to justify them printing more currency. Why? So they can service more debt. So they can give voters more promises, so they can get another election, so they can kick the can down the road, do what they do, you know. And it's not even their fault. It's our fault too. We vote these people in office. We want to elect politicians because we believe the lie that we can get something for free today at the expense of tomorrow. We want to believe that lie. And so together, as a society, we elect politicians. We elect people in seats of power, and we delegate to them the ability to create this money. We don't want to finance civil war, so we'll just create debt. We don't want to finance our entitlement programs, so we just finance it. We just create money out of thin air. And this is what happens with gold. This is what happens with real estate. I mean, why do you think in communism, or why do you think in any totalitarian system, the state acquires assets? and prints money in exchange for those acquired assets. Why do you think the United States has acquired gold, artificially suppressed the price of gold, and artificially manipulated the price of gold continually for decades and centuries? It's because you take the hard asset, you take a scarce asset, you create the weaker asset to buy the hard asset, you hoard the hard asset, and you dump the inferior asset on the market. This is Gresham's law. This is just basic logic. It's what you do yourself. You don't save in cash. You don't save in political currency units. You save in your house here. You save in real estate. You save in stocks. You save in gold because you understand this is harder to create. This requires more energy to create than the dollars in your wallet and the numbers in your bank account, because you know those are just numbers that are completely made up. This is real. This is something you can touch. And likewise, Bitcoin is the same thing. It requires electricity to create, and it requires endlessly more electricity to create. Bitcoin has gotten 50 trillion times more difficult to create. And people say, oh, well, Bitcoin's a scam because it requires electricity to create. Typically, there are politicians that say that, by the way. But it's like, that's the whole point. It's designed to become more difficult to create forever. And because it's becoming more and more difficult to create indefinitely, it's going to get more expensive. In the same way that fiat is programmed to debase, in the same way that political currencies are designed to decrease in value because we elect people, we want it to decrease in value. We want our house prices to go up because we want to believe the lie that we can make money just from sitting here on our beautiful front porch doing nothing. We want to have our house price go up forever in terms of the US dollar. We want our portfolios to go up forever in the terms of the US dollar. And what people fail to understand is that there is no logical exchange rate. If you have an asset that is hard, that is finite, that is immutably scarce, and if you have an asset that is designed to become less scarce and more infinite exponentially over time by at least 500,000x every century or two, the hard asset, at no point is it logical to sell the hard asset for the weak asset. If Bitcoin were to just keep pace with the rate of us adding $500,000 to our unfunded liabilities every single second, that would be a $14.7 billion Bitcoin from just one more iteration of the next 100, 150 years. At current rates, at the last 150 years, again, 2/3 of which we were not on a fiat standard. Okay, $10 billion of Bitcoin just from that. And again, you have to keep in mind, market cap is downwind of price, and people fail to realize that all the time. There's not enough money in the world for Bitcoin to go to that price. Oh, there's no way it could go to the price. It's like you novices. Market cap is downwind of price. If you have 100 houses on the market and only a few houses are available for sale, in fact, let's say there's only one house available for sale, and people keep bidding up that house, well, all the houses go up in value because that's the current exchange rate of currency to the houses. You don't have to have all the currency printed into existence to have all the house prices go up. You just have to have that currency chasing an infinitely smaller number of houses for the house prices to go up infinitely forever. But the difference is, it isn't an infinite cost to create more houses because we can build more houses cheaper, faster, and better indefinitely as we have technology that's better and better. But the beauty of Bitcoin is that it's resilient to that. House prices in real terms are not resilient to us getting better at building houses. Bitcoin is resilient to us at getting better at finding math, prime numbers, hashes, electricity. It's beautiful and it's frustrating. And it's frustrating that people don't get it. People lived through 2008. Okay, they lived through the subprime housing crisis. Okay, what happened in 2008 was that all these bad loans, all this toxic debt that people kept pumping and pumping and pumping, forcing house prices to go up forever because we wanted to believe the lie we could get something for free today at the expense of tomorrow. And then all this debt had to cover. And people about all this insurance and all this debt, AIG. And it's what do you think is going to happen now? We're adding $30 million to unfunded liabilities. All that dollar denominated debt has to be covered in what? US dollars. And we have a massive shortage of US dollars when compared to our debt and compared to our unfunded liabilities. You think our printing of currency is bad. Just wait until we start printing currency to pay back this debt, pay back these loans, pay back these unfunded liabilities. And then that will be dwarfed by the currency we print to purchase the Bitcoin. which again, of which there are only 1.88 million of them. $56 billion. You know what the balance sheet cash on Apple is? $56 billion. Apple, the one company, Apple, has more cash on its balance sheet than all the remaining Bitcoins on exchanges. BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager, and their CEO, Larry Fink, who is anti-Bitcoin, 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 just this year in 2023, has gone on national television and started talking about Bitcoin in a positive light. BlackRock is filing for a Bitcoin ETF. These people are beginning to understand we need a Bitcoin allocation and we need it now because it is a fully reserved system and it will not collapse when people sell Bitcoins on the market. If we sell bonds, if we sell treasuries, if we sell the debt of the United States on the market, what do you think happens? Price is set at the margins. Market cap is downwind of price. We print money to buy our own debt. And because people want that debt less, because we're printing our money to buy that debt, we have to print more money to buy that. It's a feedback loop. It's just history. It's just math. It's unfolding. Again, it's unfolded hundreds of times in history. And people, that the frustrating thing, the part that makes me think I'm insane is that you go out in the world and people get it. Oh, this is more expensive. Can you believe how much this price went up this year? Oh, it's not like it used to be. Everyone gets it. You understand. You think I'm crazy because I'm into Bitcoin, because I'm buying it. I'm not stopping buying. And I've sold all my stocks for Bitcoin. You think I'm crazy. But I'm telling you, the rest of the world is crazy. Because they all understand that money is made up. They all understand that money is just a one and a zero, but they don't realize that it's just a mass psychosis. It's just mass hysteria. Why do we have, well, the money's just made up. Why does it have value? Oh, because we say it has value. Why do we say it has value? Because everyone else says it. It's like all that has to change is for trust to shift from one set of ones and zeros to another set of ones and zeros. And the set of ones and zeros that win are the ones and zeros that are the most difficult to reproduce. Why do we trust the US dollar's system of ones and zeros and not Argentina's systems of ones and zeros? It's because it's much more difficult to infiltrate the US government and manipulate US monetary policy because of our military, because of our economy, because of everything else. And it's such a much more massive economy, much more massive ship, with much more massive incentives. It is exponentially more difficult to infiltrate the United States and change the scarcity of our currency. But even in the United States, the single best fiat reserve currency on the planet today, we increased national debt by 500,000x when 2/3 of that time period is not even on a fiat standard. And even if we increase at that rate alone, which is overly optimistic, Bitcoin's going to $14 billion. And people think I'm going to sell Bitcoin at $100,000. No, my friend, I care about you. I hope you buy Bitcoin, but I'm warning you, there are 1.88 million Bitcoins on exchanges. If the United States wanted to, instead of adding $500,000 to our unfunded liabilities, decide to print currency to buy that Bitcoin, it would be gone in 33 hours, and I'm not selling you any of it for cash. Most people will not buy their first amount of Bitcoin in exchange for political currency units. They will have to sell other hard assets that Bitcoiners desire in exchange for that Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is the first asset in human history where instead of increasing supply, when price goes up as a function of demand going up, there is no ability to increase supply. And so the only thing that can happen is that price goes up. And people that are incentivized to have you believe this hysteria that we can just print money into existence, that we can just continue this nonsense of increasing our liabilities forever. These people that are incentivized to have you believe that, when have you believe that's a bad thing? Let me ask you, how is it a bad thing when energy prices go down every single year? How is it a bad thing when housing becomes more affordable every single year? How is it a bad thing when the seed for your bird feeders goes down every single year? There's a beautiful red-breasted grosbeak that just landed there. Should the cost of that bird seed go up every single year, or should it go down? You tell me. It should go down because we're getting better at inventing things. We're getting better at growing sunflowers. We're getting better at building houses. We're getting better at using the internet and computers. We're getting better and better and better indefinitely. And so the only reason that things get more expensive is because a very small group of people, just like you, are incentivized to believe the lie that we can just sit and do nothing and collect yield and have things come out of nothing. Well, nothing's for free. Nothing comes out of thin air. The dollar is coming out of thin air, and Bitcoin does not come out of thin air. And the very people that would have you believe that Bitcoin's coming out of thin air would like to distract you from the truth that the dollar comes out of thin air, and it's always come out of thin air. And it's designed to come out of thin air infinitely more for an infinite period of time, indefinitely, until societal trust decays and it's no more. So money is just ones and zeros. It's just which set of ones and zeros is the best. So I don't really know how long this recording is, but multiply however minutes long this video is by 30 million. That's how much of unfunded liabilities we've added. It's simply insane. The printing is insane. And even more importantly, it's insane people don't see the value of Bitcoin. They'll see it in a house because a house is real and it's tangible and it requires energy to create. They'll see it in gold. They'll see it in Pokemon cards. They'll see it in baseball cards. They'll see it. I mean, why do you think people are obsessing over all these collectibles and weird things and watches? And it's because we can't trust the money. The money is deteriorating exponentially faster. This is why house prices are skyrocketing. This is why watch prices are skyrocketing. Everything that has any amount of scarcity is skyrocketing. And the thing that's going to skyrocket the most, the thing that's going to reprice everything else, is the thing that is the most scarce, is the thing that is the most desirable, and is the thing that is the hardest to replicate. And the thing on the planet, the asset on the planet that is the most difficult to replicate, is the first digital immutable ledger, fully reserved. That is the single most difficult thing to replicate, and that is Bitcoin. Nothing can duplicate Bitcoin. Nothing can replace it. And so I'll just keep being this crazy guy, buying my infinitely smaller portion of the remaining 1.88 million Bitcoins, knowing someday a country or two is going to catch on. And as Michael Saylors are going to take all their money and buy Bitcoin, take all their time to figure out how to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin. It's like, you think he's talking to you? He is. He's talking to the governments too. All these countries, they're just going to print an infinite amount of currency for Bitcoin. And entrepreneurs will innovate as much as they possibly can to produce as much value to society as they possibly can in exchange for an infinitely decreasing amount of Bitcoin. With infinite divisibility, Bitcoin is designed to go up forever. It's not stopping at 100. Right now, Bitcoin's $30,000. It's not stopping at $40,000. It's not stopping at $50,000 or $70,000 or $80,000. It's going to go to 90, and then 100, and then 120, and then it's going to keep going and going and going and going indefinitely forever, with volatility, of course, which is why you don't trade it. You buy it, you hold it, and you wait, just like you buy and hold your house, just like you buy and hold your stocks, except instead of the dollar going down against your house and stocks forever, your house and stocks are going down forever against Bitcoin. Because in the same way that your house and stocks are more scarce than the cash, in the same way your house and stocks take more energy to create than that currency, Bitcoin takes more energy to create than your house and stocks, and it's more unique than your house and stocks, and it's more irreplaceable, and it's more immutable than your house and stocks. So I don't know why on earth people are so idiotic and so nonsensical. It's because most people aren't idiots. Most people are smart. Most people have common sense, and yet they choose to be idiots. They choose to not have common sense. You hold dollars? Why do you hold dollars? Oh, I don't know. Everyone else holds dollars. I guess I'll just continue enjoying this day, holding my Bitcoin, sleeping well at night. And people can keep thinking I'm crazy. Maybe I am a little tiny bit crazy, but I think the rest of the world is more crazy. They are insane for not buying Bitcoin. Just not even $100 worth of Bitcoin. You know, you're watching this video in the future. I don't know how far in the future you're watching this, but man, get off zero, people. There's an infinite amount of currency to be created to buy that Bitcoin, and you're not going to buy any. You're just going to hold all your money in cash. You're going to hoard your money in technology monopoly securities and houses and hope that humans somehow don't get innovative enough to make more houses or find better forms of technology. It's like, goodness gracious, that is such a pessimistic worldview. Obviously, we'll build more houses. Don't you want housing to get more affordable? Don't you want food prices to go down? Why are you so pessimistic that you're going to hoard assets, commodities, and assume that human ingenuity is not just going to make more? Buy the thing that human ingenuity can't make more of. You can't make more time. You can't make more Bitcoin, but we can make an infinite number of political currency units. In the course of this video, we've made hundreds of millions of, or we've added hundreds of millions of dollars to our unfunded liabilities. Money we, by definition, don't have a plan to pay back. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a ripoff. And there's a clear solution. I need to stop talking. I'm going mad. But at least I'm going mad stacking sats. Unlike most of you watching this, probably. Well, hopefully you're buying Bitcoin. Hopefully you're not insane enough to not be buying Bitcoin. People are crazy.